Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we have this apartment attic. This TikTok tells an incredibly interesting but horrifying story. The TikToker Sasha Jones had a series of videos blow up as she told a story about her childhood home that she lived in with her family for 10 years. While living in this home, she explained that she had frequent bouts of sleep paralysis and night terrors, as well as sleepwalking. Any fans of all things creepy know that this probably isn't a good sign. Sasha explains that at one point she went on a week-long trip to LA, but when she returned home, her mom sat her down to tell her that they were suddenly going to be moving out in 2 weeks. As it turns out, Sasha's mom revealed to her that while she was away on her trip, the family had found an attic that was hidden away in the closet that had not been disclosed in the lease. Basically, the attic was only accessible by one little square and it was super heavy. Apparently, when Sasha's mom sent her brother up there to check it out, he saw a bed, a dresser, some sheets, and a pair of shoes, and while everything was covered in dust, there was a set of footprints to her room and then back to the bed. I think it absolutely makes sense why they ended up moving out as quickly as possible. Sasha also explained that once they moved apartments, her night terrors, sleepwalking, and sleep paralysis all stopped, which cannot be a coincidence. In our number 9 spot today, we have this hidden basement. This TikTok comes from the user Unfortunate Existence about something she uncovered in a home she had purchased the year prior. She was pulling back her carpeting when she revealed a hidden trapdoor in the floor. Upon opening it, she came to realize that she had an entire basement that she knew nothing about previously. Apparently, aside from finding the fuse box, which she had previously been unable to locate, the basement findings also included a rocking chair and an old pickle jar. I think it's safe to say that they are much braver than I am because there is no way I could have investigated a secret hidden basement on my own. In our number 8 spot today, we have this secret passageway. The TikToker Freddie Goodall really delivered with this secret room trend in his 500-year-old home. In his video, he showed the world a secret passageway he found hidden behind a bookshelf in his home. The secret passageway ended up leading to a room full of old, torn-up books. Apparently, this large home has a history of once being a boarding school, so it is believed that these remnants might have something to do with that. Freddie made a few more videos of this secret space as well as more hidden gems found in his home, such as some wine storage and tunnels that led to what was once the servants' quarters. It is extremely interesting to see these little hidden parts, but there's also something extremely eerie about it. If you lived in this home and found all of these secrets, I want to know what you would do with them. Let me know down below in the comments. In our number 7 spot today, we have this New York City apartment. This TikTok is kind of the one that really started the secret hidden room trend on the app. Last year, Samantha Hartzell was feeling frustrated in her New York City apartment because she was continuously feeling a freezing cold draft, so she decided to investigate the source of it. It was coming from her bathroom, and after doing some searching, she realized that it was coming from behind her bathroom mirror, and that this mirror was a little too easy to move. When she took the mirror off of the wall, she revealed an entire other room, and of course, like anyone, became worried that someone may be living in that room, but still bravely decided to investigate. After climbing through this hole in the wall, she revealed an entire unoccupied apartment on the other side. It is unclear exactly what this situation is with this apartment, but she most definitely called her landlord immediately after. In our number 6 spot today, we have this hidden safe. This one is a little different on today's list because rather than a mysterious finding, this hidden gem was intentionally placed by this TikToker. Chris Bonamo 2 TikTok where they showed a genius secret hiding place where they store their valuables. This secret safe is hidden in the bathroom behind a piece of molding. After this, they placed a towel rack on top so that the rack can act as a sort of handle to reveal this well-placed secret. While this is extremely cool and honestly a seemingly good idea, my only concern is that now this secret is all over TikTok where anyone can find it. So maybe on second thought, I'll just have to think up my own genius hiding spot for all of my most valuables. In our number 5 spot today, we have this hidden time capsule. Cam, Me, and her husband were doing some renovations on their home when they stumbled upon their secret hidden room that they were blissfully unaware of prior to this. The room was filled with old pictures, and one of the most eerie among them was a photo of a child sitting in a go-kart with a seemingly headless man standing beside him. Cam has said that she really hopes the photo was just some sort of an exposure problem because it really is extremely creepy to see. Aside from the photo, the couple also found a Christmas gift from from a past owner that was addressed to the occupant, some postcards, and a 1960s letter addressed to the writer's mom about a family dispute. The whole thing is not only interesting because it really is like a time capsule, but it also makes you wonder what led to this room being closed off and hidden for all of those years, especially with all of that stuff inside. In our number 4 spot today, we have this hidden attic. TikToker Sissy Hankshaw and her partner purchased a home together during the pandemic, but because of everything that was going on, they weren't ever actually able to see the house in person and instead based their decision entirely off of seeing photos of it on the internet. The couple first became suspicious about a possible secret room because they saw some windows on the outside of their home, but realized that they had no access to them from the inside. In the second video in this little TikTok series, they walked into what seemed like a storage space or wardrobe upstairs and revealed that they had found a small square panel that was screwed into the wall. Once they took the panel off, they found the secret room they had been looking for. The secret room was finished with insulation and flooring, and the wall they went through was new, which led to the couple wondering why this attic space had been blocked off like that. While it does seem a little eerie, it would be awesome to purchase a home that had more space than you ever even knew. In our number 3 spot today, we have this hidden bathroom. Mia Bug bought her very first home and immediately took to getting the renovations done prior to her moving in. The seller of the home explained that they had sealed off an area because there was a leaking drain pan. The seller said it was a small fix and not very costly, but they just didn't have the time or energy to do it, so they sealed it instead. Mia had no problem with this and bought the house, but when she went to take down the sealed wall, she realized that this story was not entirely true. Instead, they found a fully tiled bathroom hidden away behind this wall. The reviews to this discovery were mixed, with some people pointing out that it's a strange situation and adds a creepy element that the previous owners lied about it, while others explained that they would be ecstatic to find their home actually had another bathroom that they were unaware about. At the end of the day, it's probably just better to stay on the positive side and not think about all the things that might have led to this being hidden away. In our number 2 spot today, we have this storage cupboard basement. A TikToker named Abby uploaded a TikTok that featured the caption, "I can't believe what we found in our storage cupboard." Well, this storage cupboard revealed a hidden secret passageway to a basement that they had no idea existed. They explained that they decided to investigate because the storage area is where they put their vacuum cleaner, and they always felt like it sounded hollow beneath it. When they went down there was clearly evidence someone had once been down there, with things all over the floor, with some creepy scratched out pop art posters on the wall. Some commenters had theories that the secret basement may have actually been a World War II bunker, while other commenters swear that the opening of the basement must have released some spirits into our world. The whole basement is very creepy looking and is quite literally falling apart, but it could have some potential if they renovated it. In our number 1 spot today, we have this creepy Airbnb. This TikToker was staying at an Airbnb when he began to get some eerie feelings. It started when he first met the owners of the Airbnb and realized that they were surprised that he was a male and not a female. Any female knows what a huge red flag that would be. He goes on to explain that he could hear some strange noises coming from the vent in the middle of the night and also had a feeling that he was being watched. Instead of doing nothing, he decided to investigate. He approached the vent and ended up finding a whole entire room behind it. He explains that he didn't actually catch anyone spying on him or catch anyone actually in the room, but like anyone, the whole thing absolutely freaked him out and was more than enough to keep him on edge. I'm truthfully just hoping that he didn't stay at the Airbnb for any longer and also reported it.
Kicking off the list at number 10. British Museum's adult room. Okay, young ones, hide your eyes, here we go. We'll kick this list off on a scandalous note. The British Museum, they have a long lost adult themed room, to put it lightly. The museum itself dates back to the mid-1700s. At its initial opening, the museum only let 10 people in at a time. Now, of course, it holds many more people every day, but some collections, not everybody can handle. In the Victorian era, the museum had a secret room for obscene objects, or objects that are deemed perverse. There's a part of a temple wall that shows, the dirtiest deed being done. And the collection includes a Roman terracotta lamp that depicts a naked woman on a crocodile. Number 9. Flesh-eating beetle room. Okay, enough about ancient butts. Let's move on to the weird, shall we? Chicago's Field Museum. This one's chock full of secret rooms. I'll mention one more on this list later on, but I have to include the flesh-eating beetle room. The Field Museum uses real hide beetles to clean its specimens in order to get each of these carcasses ready for showtime. These beetles are on the clock. They're business-oriented. In just a few hours, a small rodent can be completely cleaned. Number 8. Naples' secret adult room. Okay, we can all agree that last one was pretty disgusting, so I'll liven up up the mood once again with some scandalous Pompeii excavations. After the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD, the small city of Pompeii was of course covered in hot ash. Now the ancient Roman ruin is still being uncovered today, but back in the 1700s, most of the lost city was excavated for the first time in history. And the King of Naples got the best of the best, right? He was first up, first dibs. Most of the contents are now kept in the Archaeological Museum in Naples, but some have to be held in the secret room. In the past, you had to receive permission from the king himself to take a quick peek at this sensual art. Number 7. Medici Chapels. This one begins with an epic discovery, okay? Back in 1975, the director of the Medici Chapels Museum in Florence, Italy, was searching for a new exit route for visitors. He was trying to expand whilst controlling traffic a little bit more, right? We love big moves. Now, in doing so, the director himself stumbled across this trap door beneath a closet. There also lies a few clues on the walls. There are sketches and drawings, the style of which seems to belong to one Leonardo da Vinci. Yeah, this is pretty big news. This room was immediately closed for renovations. It was held a secret until 2020, so for many, of course, this is still widely unknown, so I hope you learned a thing or two so far in this list. If you live in the area, go check out some ancient trapdoors in Italy. There you go. Number 6. Secret Insect Room. If you're in Liverpool and you love insects, oh boy, do I have just the tea for you. Let's go. Inside the World Museum in Liverpool lies a secret room, and inside it contains around 1 million insects. Don't worry, these ones are dead this time around. This collection began back in 1855. The 13th Earl of Derby, he's like, you know what? I need a cupboard full of shiny bugs. Let's make it happen, gang. Yeah, let's do it. Thousands of specimens now hide in this room, including the world's largest beetle and a moth with the largest wingspan. Big old shirt with wings. There you go. Imagine Night at the Museum, but it takes place in the World Museum in London. Bugs everywhere. Ben Stiller would not make it out. No way. There would not be 3 sequels. Number 5. Restricted Aboriginal art. While some collections are kept out of sight for museum visitors because they're, you know, extremely scandalous in nature or they're live bugs, others are kept in secret rooms out of respect. In the National Museum of Australia, David Couse, senior curator of the museum's Aboriginal programs, he wrote this long report explaining the choice to hide these artifacts from history. Now, David himself has said, and I quote, that it is the responsibility of museums to respect the cultures they want to depict. The public use of Aboriginal secrets and or sacred objects is not consistent with this responsibility, end quote. In order to gain access to these restricted Aboriginal objects, these beautiful pearl shell ornaments, you need permission from traditional Aboriginal custodians. Can't just get a fast pass and go take a peek. Not that easy, my friends. Number 4. Vatican secrets. Vatican archives are 53 miles long, so there's a lot of secrets hiding down there, okay? There's around 35,000 volumes of catalog. The Vatican's secret archives are no joke. They're very real, but in order to see them for yourselves, it's gonna take some time. You gotta earn it, okay? Again, you can't just beep, fast pass your way in. The indexes are not public, hence why I'm including them in this list. Only highly respected scholars can access it after they're 75 years old. Their official purpose is to house wholly official paperwork, and of course, it's a treasure trove of anything and everything related to the Pope, as well as these long lost ancient documents, because where else do you safely store a letter from Mary Queen of Scots, right? Dudes are out here hucking cakes at the Mona Lisa. Yeah, we're gonna keep these ancient notes locked up, I think. No one's gonna be hucking cakes at this one. Queen Mary of Scots was killed after serving roughly 20 years in custody, but eventually she was sentenced to death for conspiring to kill Queen Elizabeth I. But before she met her untimely fate, she wrote a letter to Pope Sixtus V, literally begging for her life in this letter. But of course, as we now know, the Pope did not intervene, and on February 8th, 1587, Mary Queen of Scots was executed. Now, when it comes to cursed items withheld from the public, this note is definitely up there. There's also a secret room that contains the 200-foot tall Tower of the Winds, only accessible through these secret archives, so we're never gonna see them. Number 3. King Tut's cursed artifacts. The new Grand Egyptian Museum was set to open in 2018, and then finally it did in 2021. And while that's quite recent, the contents displayed inside certainly are not. For the first time in history, King Tut's ancient belongings, like all of them discovered with him, will now be on display. Now, prior to this museum being open, we only saw 150 artifacts from his tomb. They took all these pieces out on tour, like their kiss or something. But now this museum will house thousands of artifacts. We could all go and see it in one place. There's over 7,000 square meters. It's quite a display. If you have a chance to visit the Grand Egyptian Museum, or if you saw this King Tut World Tour on the road, I'm jealous, because many of these artifacts were held aside from the public because they were deemed cursed. So if you visit, don't touch anything, please. Number 2. Deathly Pearls. If you've seen the movie Annabelle Comes Home, this next secret room in a secret museum should ring a bell. Character Daniela in the movie, she tries to communicate to a loved one beyond the grave. Now, in order to do so, she puts on a bracelet from Ed and Lorraine's Occult Museum. Now, there isn't a mourning bracelet in the real Occult Museum, but there is such thing as the Pearls of Death, and you cannot touch them, obviously. These are very real and they are very locked up, and they're also very lovely, might I add. I think they would look fabulous on me. These pearls were added to the museum after a woman claimed they were strangling her by themselves. The second this poor woman put these pearls on, she needed people around her to help yank the pearls from her neck. Yeah, these haunted pearls have nothing on Martha Wayne. Don't touch them. And finally, number 1, a secret bowling alley. We'll end this list on a fun note because it's almost Friday and I'm here to have fun. And because this is probably the coolest one on this list, in my personal opinion. The Frick collection resides in the former home of Henry Frick, of course. This is on Manhattan's Upper East Side. A handful of you have probably been here. Again, I'm jealous. This collection is a museum in itself. It contains paintings, sculptures, furniture, all historical, and all made from European artists from as far back as the 13th century. The mansion itself is rather new. That was built in 1913, and of course it was also used as the Frick's family residence. A rich family in the early 1900s. You already know there's some secret rooms, right? Areas closed off to the public, but what's hiding in there, right? What are we missing? Well, we're missing fun, rich family stuff. Like, you know, a 2-lane bowling alley built in 1914, and a billiards room, and a wood shop, and even a tiny diner in case you get hungry. You and your rich purge family, you can go eat in a secret diner. There you go, enjoy it, 1900s. Starting our list off at number 10, the Stranahan House. Okay, you don't want to be stranded at the Stranahan House, that's for sure. Fort Lauderdale, it has a few haunted hidden gems, apparently. It's always Florida, always something going on over there. The oldest house just happens to be the most haunted. What do you know? I could have guessed that, that's for sure. The house's OG owner was that of Frank Stranahan, and today if you visit ye old stomping grounds, well, you might actually catch a photo of Frank himself. Yeah, it's said that he still oversees the place as a ghost. He regularly shows up in guests' photos, so I don't know, maybe he likes the attention. Maybe he likes photobombing, I'm not sure. I suppose being trapped in the same house for all of eternity gets a little boring. I mean, sure, fair. Ivy Stranahan, Frank's late wife, well, she's also made an appearance or two. Yeah, true love is haunting the same house together. That's really it. Guests have felt a cold hand on their shoulder, and her perfume still lingers in the hallways, so must have been some good strong stuff, that's for sure. Now, it's not all fun and games with the phantom family members. Augustus Stranahan, Frank's father, well, his ghost, he likes to throw books from time to time over in the library, so let's avoid that library, shall we? Let's do it. Next, number 9, the Tampa Theater. If you're a theater kid, you're gonna love this one. You're gonna be singing West Side Story tunes in no time. Tampa Theater opened back in 1926. Today, the theater is said to be haunted by a woman that was struck and, sadly, her life was taken by a carriage on the property. By a carriage. What a sad, slow way to go. This was actually before the theater was built, keep that in mind. So her spirit had been there for a while, and then it was built, and then immediately it's haunted. The janitors are like, what? It's been 1 day, how is this possibly haunted? If you go to Tampa Theater today, you might catch a glimpse of a woman in a white gown walking across the mezzanine hallway. Imagine telling somebody to sit down during a show and then they just disappear. You're like, okay, that works just as well. That's great, thank you. Tampa Theater, of course, has leaned into these claims. Now they offer the Ghosts of Tampa Theater Tour, of course, where you can line up and pay money to, you know, go and get spooked, I guess. Now, guests can learn about its haunted history and it's fun, but still, would you go? Would you pay money to go somewhere that's knowingly haunted? I wouldn't. Definitely not. Sound off below, would you? The comments are like, yeah, I would. Gary Sinise. I'd definitely go. What have I done? Number 8, the Biltmore, Florida Hotel. Again, it's always Florida. What's going on over there? Another room to avoid at all costs. This time it's the entire property. Let's just turn right instead of left. First of all, do you like staying at a hotel? Some people love it. Some people find it relaxing. I can't sleep at all. I always get sick for some reason. I like get the shivers. I don't know. Maybe I'm staying in all the haunted hotels. Must be me. The Biltmore Hotel in the city of Coral Gables is one of the most haunted hotels ever. It all started back in 1926 during initial construction. The Biltmore witnessed a foul killing on the 13th floor. Again, during construction, these things are always doomed. The Biltmore also turned into a military hotel during World War II, and then it was closed afterwards and ultimately abandoned later in 1968. So yeah, tons of ghosts walking down those hallways. The city renovated the hotel back in the 1980s, but again, didn't take long for ghost stories to spread. Of course, the most activity is on the 13th floor. So if you check this one out, really double down, you know, really go for it and stay a night at the 13th floor. I can't believe some buildings don't have a 13th floor. Well, they do, but everyone wants to pretend like they don't. You know what I mean? We all know. Going up that staircase, you're counting, you're like, oh, they lied. Number 7, Whaley House. Located in San Diego and built in 1857. The Whaley House is an example of why you don't build your house on cursed lands. Yeah, let's go to the next plot over. This one seems a little occupied. A little Elden Rings action going on here. The site that this family's home was built on was also the location of San Diego's first ever public gallows. Ah, nice. What a fun fact that is. Let's move in. And apparently, right after moving in, Thomas Whaley said he could hear the footsteps of Yankee Jim Robinson, who had lost his life in the same gallows only 4 years prior. That's terrifying. How do you not know? 4 years ago? Come on. After the family had settled, they had all began to experience a bunch of family tragedies, most of which actually happened inside the house. Inside the house. Hence the cursed land aspect, right? Now we're kind of putting it together. As of today, the Whaley House is a museum, and apparently the family members continue to haunt that said museum. So sadly, you can't live there anymore or sleep there, but you have to pay a little pretty penny and go and take a look and take a sniff. I don't know why I said take a sniff, but sure, some people like to smell old history. Why not? Number 6, British Museum's adult room. All right, get those kids out of here for this one. Send them to bed. Put on your Peep and Tom glasses for this one. I don't know, that's weird. The British Museum, they have a long, very long adult-themed room, and it's exactly what you think. The museum itself dates back to the mid-1700s, right? So since its initial opening, the museum only let 10 people in at a time. You know, it's like, hey, too much content in here, too much scandalous content for that many eyes. One at a time. Everyone's sweating, getting all weird. Now, of course, it holds many more every day. Some parts of this collection, not everybody can handle. For example, in the Victorian era, the museum had a secret room for obscene objects, or objects that are deemed perverse. Things that, you know, the public can't really see without a warning. There's a part of a temple wall that shows the dirty deed itself. There's a big painting of, you know, just some weird movements with people. Everyone's all wet. It's intimate. Intimate ancient yoga right there. Hide their eyes. In the same collection, there also includes a Roman terracotta lamp that depicts a naked woman on a crocodile. Ooh, where should we put that lamp? Maybe the living room. The Cabinet of Obscene Objects. Sounds like a Harry Potter book, doesn't it? That's fascinating. You know what? I lied. Check this room out. Don't avoid this one. Let's go peep our heads in. Number 5, flesh-eating beetle room. Ugh, if you don't like bugs, you're gonna hate this one. Sorry, Jen, if you're watching. This is gonna suck. Enough about ancient butts and ancient, you know, yoga, hot yoga. Let's move on to some of the weird stuff, shall we? For example, in Chicago's Field Museum, this one is full of secret rooms. One's really disgusting. One of these rooms, you'll never catch me in, that's for sure. The flesh-eating beetle room. Do I have to say anything more? I don't know. Can you imagine this exhibit on a field trip? I would throw up immediately. I'd have to call my parents at like 10:51 a.m. The Field Museum uses hide beetles to clean its specimens. Yeah, so they're alive. Real beetles are in there working. 9 to 5 in there. Yeah, in order to get each of these carcasses ready for showtime, these beetles are on the clock. They're business oriented. In just a few hours, a small rodent can be completely cleaned, right down to the bone, gone. Like me after I eat wings, just nothing left, just a corpse. Imagine this is where Peter Parker got his powers. Ew, so gross. Number 4, the secret insect room. Ugh, more? Come on. If you're at Liverpool and for some reason that last one you enjoyed, well, here we go. There's more bug rooms. Here we go. Do I have the tea for you? Inside the World Museum in Liverpool lies a secret room, and inside it contains around 1 million insects. Now, this time they're dead, but it's still pretty bad. I'm itchy just thinking about this one. This collection began back in 1855. The 13th Earl of Derby, not the 12th, the 13th Earl of Derby, he's like, you know what I need? A cupboard full of shiny bugs. That's what we should focus on instead of, you know, feeding people that don't have food. So now, thousands of specimens hide in this room, including the world's largest beetle and the world's largest moth. Again, disgusting. Imagine Night at the Museum, but it takes place in this one. Ugh. Ben Stiller's like, yeah, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it rated R. Number 3, room 206. Yeah, this one gives Stephen King's 1408 vibes. You're gonna absolutely love it. I'm not sure you're ready, honestly. Next time you visit, you guessed it, Florida, make sure that you read every customer review before you check into every hotel, okay? Room 206 at the Super on International Drive. Apparently it's super haunted. Yeah, you wanna super avoid this one. I don't know, I tried 3 there, didn't work. Guests have reported the bed shaking in the middle of the night, which is not great for trying to get your beauty sleep. And they've also reported freezing cold air even though the AC was not turned on. Maybe that's why I was shivering recording this whole time. Oh god. And the worst of all, guests have seen their bed look as if somebody was just laying there, like, you know, indents, even though it was perfectly made before checking in. That's terrifying. Can ghosts squat? We've got a couple of ghost squatters in our room. We gotta change rooms. Number 2, King Tut's belongings. The new Grand Egyptian Museum finally opened to the public back in 2021, and while that's quite recent, the contents displayed inside certainly are not. For the first time in history, all of King Tut's artifacts will be on display. See, prior to this museum being opened, we only saw about 150 artifacts from his tomb, and they all went on tour, you know, like a band. They just went around the world and just haunted different locations with old ancient Egyptian curses. But now this museum will stay in one place. Now it will house thousands of artifacts in a beautiful space that pans over 7,000 square meters. It's massive. Now cut back to the initial discovery of King Tut's tomb, November 4th, 1922. Ancient history was unearthed. A team of researchers led by British archaeologist Howard Carter discovered this entrance to King Tut's tomb, and it was fascinating. They found history right there, literally at the front steps. They're like, hey, let's go in. Why not? What'll happen? Only 3 weeks later, King Tut's actual tomb was unearthed, and history hasn't been disturbed in over 3,000 years. Then we came in and made him an exhibit. Now he's just, there's all his stuff. There we go. This discovery spawned the curse of the pharaohs. You've probably heard of this. Because almost every expert involved in the initial discovery, they all experienced horrible luck. Howard Carter, the archaeologist who discovered the tomb, he gave a paperweight to his friend Bruce Ingham as a gift. Now that paperweight in question was a mummified hand wearing a bracelet. Why you'd give that to anybody as a gift, let alone a paperweight, is beyond me. Inscribed on that bracelet read the phrase, "Cursed be he who moves my body." Ingham's house, believe it or not, burned to the ground not long after receiving that gift. Who could have predicted that one? And then when he tried to rebuild the home, it was destroyed again in a flood. Yeah, talk about bad luck. That's why you don't steal cursed things. And finally, number 1, St. Augustine's Lighthouse. The St. Augustine Lighthouse is located in Florida and was built between 1871 and 1874 and was considered Florida's first official lighthouse. Before then, everybody was like, I can't see. And since then, there have been several tragic events over the following years, but even during initial construction, there were several freak accidents on site that lead many to believe that it's haunted today. Today, said spirits are still lurking about. Sightings of shadowy figures are common, but one time, somebody saw a hand come through the tower door, like a floaty hand, like from Idle Hands. How terrifying is that? Can you imagine? That's horrible. Several guests have also reported furniture moving around on its own. One person even said that they had some of their arm hairs plucked off while in the basement, which is a little personal if you ask me, honestly. Another guest even felt someone grab their ankle at one point while walking down a hallway, which actually caused them to trip and fall. That's terrifying. Imagine looking down and seeing nobody. Getting chills thinking about that.
Secret room behind a bookshelf brings us to number 10. I know what you guys must be thinking. This has to be a hoax, right? Wrong. This stuff actually happens in real life, believe it or not. And maybe you have a secret room in your house that's waiting to be discovered. So right now, go around your house, start breaking down walls. Okay, maybe not. Okay, let's get back into this. We have two brothers who are playing around in one of the rooms in their house when the little brother ran into the bookshelf and it opened up and it actually led them to a secret spiral staircase that led to another secret crawl space. Sounds cool, right? Well, think again. A stranger was apparently living in this room, and that's not all. That's not where this ends. The stranger must have snuck around the house and stolen items from them because there was empty wrappers from Halloween candy that was taken from one of the boys' rooms. Could you imagine having a creeper living in your house, tiptoeing around, maybe, you know, watching you as you sleep? Creepy religious room is in at number 9 on our list. A family made a shocking discovery when they decided to find out what was hiding underneath a large metal grate that was in the middle of their hallway. After removing the crate, they found a hole that was just big enough for them to squeeze through. I'm pretty sure a small hole in the ground would be enough for me to not squeeze through it, but for me to, you know, walk away. But not for this family for some reason. Once they made it down the creepy shaft, they were in a small pitch black cellar that looked like it could have been a chapel. In the middle of the room, there was an old wooden cross that was slowly rotting away, and there were also hooks hanging from the ceiling, which could have been used to hang a meat. So yeah, I'm naturally confused here. Was this a secret chapel, or maybe was it a kill room? I have no desire to find out what really went on in this cellar, so you know what? I think it's time that we move on. Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's see what we have next. And well, we're at number 8 right now. Number 8, behind the walls. A family decided to put an offer on their dream home in Pennsylvania after the home inspection proved that it was a solid house. But the home inspector missed one huge detail. he failed to look at the walls and the strange thing that was hiding inside of them. The family wanted to add better insulation into one of the rooms, so they opened up the walls and they found a dark secret. They found some Old Spice cans and newspapers that dated back to like 30s or 40s, but that's not where the weird part of the story is. Those newspapers were covering bones from animal corpses. After they tore up the rest of the walls, the smell became unbearable, and the more they tried to fix it, the worse that it actually got. The family got very sick from the dead animals inside of their house, and they had to spend thousands of dollars trying to get rid of the animal bones. I mean, what happened and who put these bones in the wall? World War II Hidden Room comes in at number 7. A Reddit user from Norway posted some pretty disturbing pictures of a hidden room that he discovered in the attic of his house. Apparently his landlord told him that the house had a hidden room, but he was extremely vague on, where it was. So instead of working or being productive, the renter thought that it would be a good idea to go exploring, be Dora the Explorer. Well, he accidentally found the room when he kicked a wall in the attic. And inside of this dark secret room was a sign that read, if you have a bad stomach, then you don't have access. I mean, what the heck does that mean? I don't have a good stomach. I'd get the heck out of there. Why do I need a strong stomach? What is about to happen? Was he about to die? There was also a lamp alarm that was used to warn people nearby when someone came into the room, and there was an old map of Western Europe. Oh, and also they found an old doll shoe that looked like it came straight out of a horror movie. I'd say you're better off boarding up that wall and forgetting this wall or this experience ever existed. The real-life Dexter room slices its way into number 6. A man was extremely surprised when he discovered a small passageway in his attic that was blocked by a locked door. Locked doors for me mean I'm not going to enter. It means I'm not that curious. Well, obviously this made this person curious, and he decided to burst open the padlock to see what was hiding behind this door. Why do people do this? Well, he probably should have called his realtor and put the house back on the market, because what he found was actually pretty terrifying. Once he crawled through the tiny space, busted open the lock, and opened the door, he found a soundproofed room covered in plastic with a platform in the middle and a suitcase. I can only imagine what went on in this room. Inside of the suitcase there was jewelry and several black tapes that had "No, no, no" and "Save yourself" written on them. He handed the tapes over to the police, and I guess we'll never know what are on those tapes, but I'm sure we can all take a few wild guesses. Maybe this was the real life Dexter house. And I'm not talking about Dexter, what is it called, Dexter's Laboratory. I'm not talking about it was his house. I'm talking about the guy that murdered people. Peephole staircase brings us to number 5. Two people were house hunting when they stumbled across this extremely terrifying discovery. They made their way down a flight of rickety old stairs into the basement, and they were pretty disturbed. Behind the stairs, they found an area that looked like it was being used as a bedroom, of some sort. On the back of the stairs, there were creepy and disturbing messages written on the walls. Some of the notes said, "No watching Isaiah through the hole," and "Stop watching me," and also, "Is this real life right now?" Okay, that's something that I would write on the wall. I don't think they saw that on the wall. If they did, that's pretty cool. Well, what's going on here? When they looked even closer, they saw that there were small peepholes carved out of the stairs, so whoever was locked away in this room was able to see out. This is way too sinister for me, and I just want to forget the existence of this, so let's move on. A secret roommate jumps onto our list at number 4. A secret roommate? Well, a group of students from Ohio made a shocking discovery when they found out that a man had been living in a secret room in their house, and you know what? He wasn't even paying rent. Well, that's probably one of the scariest things that could happen to you when you move into a new home. Make sure the new home is empty first. At first, the students thought that they were being haunted by a ghost because their cupboards were always left open and they heard strange noises. But as it turns out, the ghost was actually a real person, and the truth was way more terrifying. After they extensively searched the house, they discovered a room in the basement behind a door that led to a secret room. Inside, they found a double bed, a student's textbooks, and pictures. I guess college is really expensive because this guy was living rent-free for a very long time. The student quickly changed the locks and left a note for their unwanted roommate, telling him that he couldn't live there anymore. If it was me, I'd probably leave a note saying $800, please. And then you can stay in that secret room and I won't tell anybody. We don't have to get the police involved. A terrifying hideout takes us to number 3. An HVAC worker was doing some renovations on a house when he suddenly discovered a secret room in the attic of the garage. He realized that a piece of the wall didn't look like it belonged. So he pushed on it, which turned out to be a hidden room. Inside, there were air vents, stained wood walls, carpeted floors, cable hookups, electrical outlets, and even a makeshift bathroom. There were some personal items thrown around the room and 2 license plates hung on the wall. At first he thought that someone was kept against their will, but the lock was on the inside, not the outside. So that takes that theory out the window. So this room was meant to keep people out. I don't know what is more terrifying. Well, as it turns out, this house used to belong to a man named RJ and his mother DD Moore, also known as the Lottery Killer. She was convicted of murdering a man who won the lottery back in 2012. So maybe this is her secret room that she wanted to use to hide from the police. Number 2, the secret prison cell. Christian Perez has been working as a home inspector in Tampa, Florida for many years. And during his career, he has stumbled across lots of secret and hidden rooms. But he will never forget what he found years ago during one of his inspections. Whenever he thinks about it, he still gets the chills down his spine. He found a small dark room that was tucked behind a wall in the attic. It had a small bed, a strange map of a city, and also tons of empty food cans, so clearly someone's been living there. The homeowners who had been living in the house for the past 25 years, well, they said that they never even knew that this room existed. So could it be plausible that someone lived there for the past 25 years? During an investigation, no one was able to come up with a definitive answer for what this room was used for. But they speculate that someone might have been held captive there. And this is why you should always have a home inspection before buying. And I'm thinking we go one small step forward, and anytime you buy a house, I think you should just gut it. The Murder Castle tops this list at number 1. One of the most notorious buildings that was full of secret rooms was the Chicago Murder Castle, which was designed by the infamous serial killer H.H. Holmes. The entire building was posed as a hotel, but in reality, it was a maze full of secret kill rooms with winding passageways, trapdoors, chutes, and dungeons that was full of acid vats and other torturous devices. When it was being built, he hired construction workers, and then he killed them so no one had any idea what was going on. He killed the people that designed the room, so now no one knows about it. The building had its very own crematorium so that he can use to, dispose of his victims' bodies in secret. This has to be one of the most scariest things I've ever heard of. I wonder if there are other buildings like this in the world, and I'm willing to say that there probably are. I mean, this guy probably inspired a lot of other people, which is crazy to say.
Coming in number 10, we have the Empire State Building 103rd floor viewing room. I mean, if you want to see the whole New York skyline and you don't want to break the bank on your trip to the top of the Empire State Building, and you want to grab a drink, you better believe that there's a hotel called The Standard that has all of those things. But for those of you who really want to head to the top of New York and can't do it without popping into the iconic Empire State Building, then I'll have you know that you're not even getting the best view. You spent all that money to go to the top of the Empire State Building, only to find out that there is a secret room that you are not qualified to check out. There happens to be a 103rd floor that you can't get to. This helps the rich and famous see the whole city without tourist crowds. Now, I'm sorry, but just going to the front desk and asking if you can get there isn't enough. You actually have to be someone of status. Unless you're very rich, very famous, or a government official, you are not going anywhere near the 103rd floor. I'm sorry, but you're just not important enough. The government and the people who run the building don't want you going up to that floor because it's going to lose its attraction. I'm sorry, but you're going to be stuck on the 102nd floor, looking up, wondering which important people are hovering above you. Coming in number 9, we have the Mount Rushmore Vault. Now, this next one is going to sound like it was pulled out of a comic book, but I will let you know that it is 100% real. Behind Abraham Lincoln's head on Mount Rushmore is a secret tunnel that leads to a massive room that is full of US documents. Like, come on. I remember Team America World Police, they had a secret base in Mount Rushmore, but this couldn't be the truth. But would I lie to you? This was actually the original vision of the man who built Mount Rushmore. And can I just say for a moment that this is probably the most patriotic thing that anyone has ever done? I mean, you could put a flag in your front yard, but that is nothing compared to the amount of work that went into building faces of some of the most famous presidents in America into the side of a mountain. But inside this vault are some government documents. Now, what's on those documents, no one really knows. It could be anything. They could be extremely valuable. It could be the Declaration of Independence, or it could be just a bunch of boring files that don't really mean anything. And you're not going going to get invited into you are not going to get invited into this vault unless you have some sort of government power. Coming in at number 8, we have the Lehman Brothers secret Times Square building. When you look at all of the massive buildings in Times Square, you probably think that rent must be super high to have a spot in one of those buildings. Well, you would be right, but there is something that is even more valuable than renting the space. It's ads. If every building in Times Square is covered in ads because companies will pay out the butt to have all their stuff promoted up there. And the Lehman Brothers saw this as an opportunity and decided that was all they needed for their building. One of the centerfold buildings in Times Square is owned by the Lehman Brothers, and there is nothing in it. If you were to walk around inside this building, you would literally just have open spaces and dangling wires. The whole thing just acts as a massive billboard, and it's probably very profitable because they don't need to worry about any building upkeep. Coming in at number 7, we have Niihau, Hawaii. How big could a secret room be? Well, how about 70 square miles? Well, this one isn't so much a room, but it is very much an island, and it is definitely a secret that the government is trying to keep secret from everyone. This place is closed off to visitors. It is a self-sufficient island that only has 130 people living on it, and although the people are allowed to leave, no one is allowed to enter outside of medical services. There are some very strict rules on this island. For one, there is no booze. Just so you know, you wouldn't be able to sneak on the island and have a big party. The people there aren't really into that. Also, there are no guns, which is probably a good thing, but again, it brings down how much excitement there will be at any given time. And this place has chosen a way of life that is very different from our own. They don't have any plumbing, they have no traditional roads, and everything in terms of food is taken from the land by farmers and brought to the people. They do have electricity, however. All of that comes from solar panels, but they do not have internet. So you're going to have to get very good at talking to people. What a scary thought. Coming in number 6, we have the Eiffel Tower apartment. If you go to Paris, you can now see what would be the most expensive apartment in the whole city, and that is the Eiffel Tower apartment. The man who built the Eiffel Tower didn't only do it so he could have his masterpiece be the center of attention. No, he wanted to have the best apartment maybe in the world. At the top of the Eiffel Tower is an apartment that only could be accessed by one man who built the Eiffel Tower himself, Gustave Eiffel. Now, people can go visit, but that isn't even the most secret part of this secret room. There's also something that is underneath one of the legs of the Eiffel Tower, and that is a military bunker that can prep troops in the heart of the city without the enemy catching on. Could you imagine a bunch of French troops popping out of the base of the Eiffel Tower? You have to admit, the French have a way with theatrics. Coming in at number 5, we have Club 33. Here's something that the super rich and the government want to keep hidden from you, and even with me telling you about it, there's a good chance that you still won't be able to afford the entrance fee. See, Club 33 is something that is hidden away in Disney World. We all know that Disney World is a place where kids come to have their dreams come true, but the kids aren't roaming around free. They're running around with their parents, who, after a long day in the sun taking care of Rugrats, probably want a drink. Turns out, you can't get booze when you're at Disney World, but you can if you're part of Club 33. This is a members-only club that is somewhat a high rollers lounge. Only the best of the best can join. You need a recommendation to get in, and on top of that, if you can get accepted, you have to pay a $25,000 membership fee and then $12,000 annually each year after that. It's very much a status symbol. Some suspect that Club 33 has something to do with Jesus or the devil, since we all know that number 33 has strong religious connotations. I don't know if that's true, but if you're blowing your money at Disney World in that amount, you're probably in the Illuminati. Coming at number 4, we have the secret train station under Waldorf Astoria. In movies, high-ranking government officials always have some sort of secret underground transportation that they can use to get around, and some of you think that that couldn't be a real thing in real life. There's no way that something like that could exist. Well, think again. Under one of the most famous hotels in New York, a hotel known as the Waldorf Astoria, there is a train station that is only used by the president himself. This is partly because almost every president has stayed there ever since its inception, but it's also one of the most secure ways for the president to travel. No one can get down there, and even if they did, there is a ton of secret features that the rail car has. For all we know, this thing could be built like a Bond car and have heat-seeking missiles that come through the headlights. Coming at number 3, we have Room 39. This is one of the most secret places in North Korea, which is already a very secretive place. No one really knows what goes on in Room 39, but people suspect that government workers work in there to try and create revenue for North Korea through illegal activity. Thought that they could be cooking and organizing the distribution of crystal meth, and they are also finding ways to commit billions of dollars in insurance fraud. That is wild. Coming in number 2, we have the Vatican bunker. Now, this isn't a place where the Pope can go to hide out if the world starts to end because he was right about Armageddon. I mean, they probably have a room like that, but it won't be as exciting as the one I'm about to tell you about. The Vatican bunker is a place where they keep all the files that have been held in the Vatican for centuries. We're talking about 1,200 years of paperwork. I mean, I think you could fit most of that stuff onto a hard drive, so I don't know why they're still doing the whole pen and paper thing, but to each their own. But the Vatican archives have all of the juicy details about everything the church has done for a long time. You better believe that all of this information is closed to the public. In fact, if you ever get access to this secret bunker, you have to be a high-ranking scholar, and you can only look through certain folders. The Pope will vet everything that an outsider has access to before they are allowed into the bunker. And there is a hard cutoff. Anything that is younger than 75 years old, there is zero access to. That is a hard and fast rule that only the Pope can break. And even with probably the most accepting Pope of all time, he isn't about to let any of this information slip. But there is a lot of people who want to get their hands on those files with all the problems the church has been getting into in recent years. I can't go into details on this channel because it's disturbing, but either you know what I'm talking about or you're going to go look it up right now. And coming in at the number 1 spot is Area 51. Come on, this has to be number 1. What is going on in Area 51? Now, is this a room? Well, kinda. It's an indoor facility, so there is a room in there somewhere, I'm sure. But the whole thing has to be the biggest place that the government is hiding from us. And what is going on in there? We have no idea. I think we could all say aliens. That's probably what we're all thinking. But there could be some tech that will change the world. They could have mech suits in there that are like the ones from Pacific Rim. Just let us in already and we'll stop messing around with the stock market, I promise.
Coming in at number 10, we have the Fritzil guest house. Joseph Fritzil was an abominable man, of that we know. In 2008, Fritzil's House of Horrors was discovered. Now, Joseph Fritzil and his wife Rosemarie actually used to run a guest house in the town of Untracht in Mondsee in Austria. That was before they moved to Amstetten, where his House of Horrors was later discovered. As you may know, Fritzil had been keeping his daughter imprisoned in the basement of his home in a secret room hidden from view. Eventually, Elizabeth managed to break free after 24 years, may I add. The Fritzil house, in which the horrid man imprisoned his daughter in a locked room, was eventually remodeled with the secret cell removed. However, it seems that the story wasn't over. In 2017, another secret room was discovered in Fritzil's old guest house. It seems that contractors working on the property, once owned by the convict, found a staircase behind an improvised wall leading to a secret room. This seems to indicate that the predator may have imprisoned more victims in the past that police didn't know about. Coming into number 9, we have an ancient chapel. To me, this absolutely looks like a curse room. I'm straight up calling old hidden satanic place of worship here, but maybe I'm just being a bit dramatic. Take a look at this. Now, for me, from the outside, this looks like a normal detached house in the UK. The house is in Telford and it's around 230 years old, which I know sounds old to a lot of you watching, but really, for the UK, isn't that old? Owners Pat and Diane Furler suspected it may have once been a pub. It looks like it could have been. One day they decided to investigate a metal grill in their floor, but they definitely wish they hadn't. They broke through below the grill and found, well actually, let me show you some pictures. They found a totally eerie stone chamber that looked like an old chapel. It even had a crucifix on the floor. On the floor! They then found that there was a staircase leading to a cupboard in another area of their house, which to me is super weird and super freaky. Why on earth would someone be praying in secret? Also, the way the cross looks on the floor, to me, is absolutely cursed. 10 out of 10 cursed. Coming into number 8, we have the missing Amber Room. The whereabouts of the Amber Room remain a mystery to this day. Once a priceless art piece belonging to the Tsars of the Russian Empire, the Amber Room was dismantled and hidden during World War II. As you likely know, in World War II, Germany invaded Russia, and the whole thing led to one of the biggest death tolls in the history of warfare. But before the Germans came, the Russians knew that they were coming, they knew that they were screwed, and they started hiding their treasures. The Amber Room, once considered the 8th wonder of the world, was a whole room made up of old Russian money. Likely old Russian blood money, if we're totally honest. Either way, they wanted to hide the room. They didn't want the Germans getting their hands on it. To this day though, it's actually actually never been found, although it has been reconstructed. There's a brand new amber room, but not the original. So I'm wondering, do we even want to know where Russians hide stuff? Because, like, probably not. Coming in at number 7, we have Down the Rabbit Hole. Okay, here's the headline for you. Rabbit hole leads to hidden caves of the Knights Templar. What? The Knights Templar, for those of you that don't know, were a secret religious order who fought the Crusaders between the 12th and 14th centuries. In March 2017, a rabbit hole in a farmer's field was explored to reveal an ancient cave. Explorer Michael Scott found the historic wonder and said it was deathly silent in the caves. I can only imagine the horrendous stuff that went on down there, honestly. It's so freaky! Look at these pictures! Ah! Coming in at number 6, we have Walt Disney's Haunted Bedroom. Disneyland California was the OG Disney theme park. Opened in 1955, Walt Disney had several secret rooms built in the theme park, including a princess apartment in Sleeping Beauty's castle, the mysterious and elusive Club 33, and his very own apartment above the fire station on Main Street, which is kind of near the park entrance. It seems that ever since Walt Disney's passing in 1966, his old room has been haunted by his spirit. Now, according to Disney legend, a cleaner was tidying up his apartment only to notice a lamp was lit by the window, which was very strange because it had been unoccupied for some time. She then turned it off and went about her job. She was shocked to notice that the lamp had flickered back on by itself. She turned it off once more, only to see the lamp fire up again before her very eyes. Since that day, nobody has ever tried to turn the lamp off, and it is kept burning as a symbol of Walt's spirit living on in the park. Coming into number 5, we have this secret dungeon. When a video pops up in your YouTube recommendations with the title, "Moved into a new apartment," warning, secret dungeon, you just have to click it because, I mean, of course you do, right? We're not idiots. We need to see this. I need to see the secret dungeon. So the description is pretty juicy. It reads, "Earlier this week, I moved into a one-bed studio apartment in England. I'd never seen the place before. I paid my deposit. And after I moved in, I noticed a strange hatch in the floor. It's an old converted 19th century monastery, so I thought there might be something interesting." As it turns out, we have a dungeon. It's every badly written horror movie happening in real life. Here's a video tour I made tonight. Whew, like I said, juicy. Okay, so let's skip the beginning of the tour. I'll give you the highlights just so you know. So, the lad is living in a small ground floor apartment, old building, high ceilings, old monastery, bedroom on a mezzanine level with mirrors on the ceiling, and we're gonna skip past that really quickly. Weird, but you know, yeah, nice bathroom tiles, kitchen, so on and so forth. But then, oh wait, what's that? It's a hatch. A hatch to where, I hear you cry? Well, let's have a look.
That looks like it goes in pretty deep.
Okay, so he goes down in there and what does he see? Let's have some still images for you so you can get the whole picture because the video is pretty freaky and bumpy. Okay, I'm saying that is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen, but at the same time, adds a lot of value on the rent, right? Imagine all the storage in that murder bunker. Hurrah! Coming into number 4, we have the tape room. Redditor Lumberjack went pretty viral with global news articles written about their creepy findings, which they posted onto the social media site. So it all went down in May 2014 when the Redditor posted images of a mysterious panel in the wall. Here it is. Okay, so obviously he opened up the panel. He then went on through a whole adventure through a carpeted crawl space in which he found a briefcase containing jewelry and a selection of foreign currencies. The worst discovery, however, was a box of videotapes labelled from 94 to 95. One of the tapes was inscribed with "No, no, no, no" on it, which doesn't sound great. We don't actually know what's on it though, the Redditor didn't tell us. They also found a note that read, "Save yourself." Not looking so good. Lumberjack said that they were asked to delete the post by a local sheriff who was investigating a murder. Coming into number 3, we have the walled up room. There is a Reddit thread on No Sleep called "Never Buy a House with a Walled Up Room," and do you know what? Like, I guess don't. I think that's good advice. Don't do it. Why? because of the old act of incurement, which is the act of bricking someone alive in a room until they die and then just leaving them there. Good, joyous. There have been so many instances of people tearing down false walls and finding bodies. In July 2013, the hidden skeleton of a woman who'd been missing for 28 years was discovered when contractors found a false wall in the basement of her old home. Now, the body was described as being skeletonized with the hands tied with a rope. Murder. Murder! It seems that also the bishop who haunts the infamous Borley Rectory in England was incurred. Bricked in a wall. He now throws bricks at passers-by and I kinda get it. Coming into number 2, we have the secret bunker of Denver Airport. There are a lot of rumors and legends that Denver Airport in Colorado is sitting on the top of a secret satanic lair. Hints and clues come from a hellish-looking blue horse with glowing red eyes. What is this horse? Oh, it's only the Egyptian god of death. Good. Great. Thanks, Denver. Also, the sculpture fell on its creator, who later died as a result of his injuries, so I'm not feeling good about it. There are also murals inside the building that look kinda swastika-esque, and also there are an uncomfortable number of triangles. The real crux of the conspiracy is that the airport is just so big. Like, why? Not all of that space is being used. Former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura thinks that Denver Airport sits above a giant apocalypse bunker for government officials. But the majority of conspiracists think that the underground labyrinth is used as a secret meeting spot for Satanists or the Illuminati. Denver, what is going on? Finally, coming into number 1, we have the hidden chamber of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Most of you watching will have heard of the Curse of the Pharaohs. When King Tutankhamun's tomb was opened up in 1922, the legendary Curse of the Pharaohs was a main topic of conversation and continues to be an enduring legend. Basically, the archaeological discovery was dogged by a number of untimely and mysterious deaths from those involved in the excavation. This led many to believe that Egyptian curses are pretty real. Okay, so with that in mind, what if I tell you a whole new room has been discovered in the Great Pyramid of Giza? The Heritage Innovation Preservation Project has been working with Cairo University and the Egyptian government to scan the Great Pyramids. Yes, scan. This is super hi-fi modern day tech stuff. Scanning! In 2017, the pyramid housing the tomb of the great pharaoh Khufu showed a mysterious and spooky void when it was scanned. Khufu. What a name! Khufu! I wish my name was Khufu. Built in 2560 BC, this weird void has been locked away and secret for over 4,000 years. Now the void stretches for at least 30 meters above the Grand Gallery, an ascending corridor that links the Queen's Chamber to the King's Chamber in the heart of the pyramid. A void in the heart? I don't like the sound of this. I would not want to be the one who goes in to investigate this scary hidden room because, well, curse me once, shame on you, but curse me twice, honestly, shame on me. Humans, honestly, we just need to leave things alone. Leave them to the Egyptian gods. Let them have their business.
Number 10 on our list, let me give you guys some background information on this haunted house. The Riddle House is located in Palm Beach County in Florida. The house used to be a funeral parlor, so I'm sure a lot of creepy things went down inside of this house. But that's not even the scary part. One of the former employees committed suicide by hanging himself in the attic. And according to all of the reports, anytime a man steps foot in the attic, his spirits will attack them. One man had an object thrown at his head, so now men are no longer allowed to go inside of the attic. I mean, I wouldn't want to step foot inside of that attic anyway, so you know what, whatever. If that wasn't enough, legend has it that the entire house is haunted, and if you go inside of it, a spirit might follow you home and haunt your house as well. I mean, yeah, no thanks, I don't want to be haunted, I don't want my house to be haunted. I want to go to my home and just be curse-free and be ghost-free as well. The Queen Mary sails onto our list at number 9. The Queen Mary has been voted one of the most haunted places in America, and this is by Time magazine. And after doing my research, it's easy to see why. There are countless stories of many areas of the ship that are haunted with ghosts. Visitors claim that the engine room is haunted by the ghost of a crew member who was crushed to death by a watertight door. The swimming pool is also a highly talked about area as well. People say that they can see spirits at the bottom of the pool, and they are just waiting to pull someone under the water and drown them to death. If that wasn't enough, You can go on a paranormal tours of the ship, but be warned, there is a curse. It is said that each year during one of these tours, at least one guest will break a bone while on board. The Shanghai tunnels in Portland, Oregon makes their way onto this list at number 8. Did you guys know that in the 19th century, Portland was considered to be one of the most dangerous parts of America? It was primarily due to a form of human trafficking called Shanghaiing. According to the legend, con artists would prey on unsuspecting young men and they would lure them into trapdoors. The victim would then be fed into a network of underground tunnels where they would be drugged, held captive, and eventually sold to ships as slaves. Hundreds of years later, these tunnels are still intact, and it is believed that if you find yourself down there, you will be extremely confused, unable to find yourself back to the surface. You will have hallucinations, and you'll also have a ton of angry spirits who will hold you down to the point where you feel like you can't breathe. I say, if it was up to me, we fill these tunnels up with dirt and call it a day. The Banff Springs Hotel checks onto this list at number 7. This hotel was built in 1888 by the Canadian Pacific Railway. Despite its picturesque view, this hotel is plagued with angry spirits that will make your night a living hell. Some of the strange things that happened here was when a family was brutally murdered in room 873, a bride died while falling down the hotel's marble staircase, and a retired bellman apparently still haunts this hotel even to this day. But the fun doesn't stop there. The hotel has a room that is known as the Phantom Room. There was an error in the building plans which resulted in this extra room being built. It doesn't have any windows and no one knew that it existed except for the builders. But years later, during a renovation, the room is discovered and it was converted into a working room. But apparently this room is cursed. It is full of unusual sounds, strange shadows, and you will feel extremely uneasy if you go inside. Leap Castle brings us to number 6. This is probably one of Ireland's most haunted destinations due to its dark history. One of the most gruesome murders that took place in the castle occurred in 1532 in a room that is known as the Bloody Chapel. A priest was murdered in this room in front of his entire family. The castle is now rumored to be haunted by a ton of spirits, including a violent hunched beast known as Elemental. If you find yourself inside of this castle, you'll know that he is near because you can smell rotting flesh and sulfur, and when the castle was being renovated, workers found a dungeon that is only accessible through the ceiling hatch. I mean, how weird is that? It is believed that prisoners were thrown inside, forgotten, and left there to die. The dungeon also has a bunch of human remains and was full of spikes that were used to impale the prisoners who were thrown there to their death. Sounds like a great tourist destination, right? Yeah, I don't think so. Flight 191 takes us to number 5. We're now talking about a cursed airplane number. If you ever find yourself booking a trip, pay close attention to your flight number. Is it flight 191? You might want to consider changing your flight, and I'll tell you why. This flight has a higher than normal amount of crashes. There has been 4 commercial flights with this flight number and they have all crashed. Another flight had an incident on board that caused the plane to divert from the flight plan. On an American Airlines flight, the plane crashed shortly after taking off in Chicago and it killed 273 people on board. A Delta Airlines flight crashed while landing and it killed 137 people, and a Comair flight crashed on takeoff, killing 49 people. There are a bunch of other airlines with flight numbers 191 that crashed, but I think you get the point. The San Fernando Cathedral, San Antonio, Texas jumps onto our list at number 4. We have another cursed cathedral on this list. This church was built in 1868 and it is thought to be the oldest church in Texas. Well, according to the local report, this church is plagued with angry spirits and demonic forces. People have seen hooded ghosts in monks' clothing roaming the halls on a regular basis. Or they'll also see a man dressed in black who stalks you as you explore the church. And yes, the church is still open for business, so if you're brave enough, you can attend the service. That's if you dare. I don't dare. Personally, I'm not really that big into angry spirits following me around, but that might just be me. Number 3, we have King Tut's tomb. When this tomb was discovered on November 26, 1922, people believe that the pharaoh unleashed a powerful curse of death and destruction upon those who entered his tomb. I'd be pretty pissed too if I was untouched for 3,000 years and then all of a sudden there are a ton of people entering my tomb with tools and some lights. But let's explore this curse even further. The man who paid for the excavation of King Tut's tomb was the first one to be hit with the curse. While shaving, he accidentally tore open a mosquito bite, which caused him to die due to blood poisoning. The archaeologist who discovered the tomb gave his friend a paperweight as a gift gift. The paperweight was made out of a mummified hand, and it had some weird thing inscribed onto it. Well, after receiving this weird gift, his house burned down, and when he tried to rebuild it, it was hit with a massive flood. A man who visited the tomb became extremely ill, and he never really recovered. He died of pneumonia a few months later. There are a bunch of other unfortunate people who have mysteriously died after visiting this tomb, so I know one thing that is for certain. You'll never see me around this tomb. I'll be much more comfortable watching the footage on YouTube or something like that. Or maybe just googling an image of what the guy looks like. Moving up on this list, number 2, we have the 600 rooms in the Cecil Hotel. You're probably really familiar with this hotel due to its dark history. It's said that all 600 rooms of the Cecil Hotel are cursed due to the murders, maniacs, and ghosts that roam inside. A bunch of serial killers used to call this hotel their home, maybe because they all felt a strange affinity to it. And over the years, a lot of guests have mysteriously died without any reasonable explanations. One of the most mysterious deaths was Alyssa Lamb. Her body was found 2 weeks after her death when people were complaining about the water tasting weird. Her body was decomposing in the rooftop water tanks for weeks. The discovery of her body led investigators to watch the surveillance footage. They saw Alyssa go onto the elevator alone, then look outside the door several times. She left the elevator, and it looked like she was having a conversation with someone who wasn't really there. And that was the last time she was seen alive. And finally, number 1, we have the Warren Occult Museum. If you know what's good for you, you'll never visit this museum, although I'm a little bit curious, but I would be pretty terrified inside of it. It is full of items that Ed and Lorraine Warren have collected over the years from their paranormal investigations. One of the most cursed items that sits inside of these walls is the Annabelle doll. I mean, everyone knows by now. She was responsible for at least one death when a young man came into the museum and challenged the doll to do its worst, and guess what? It did. Another cursed item at the museum is the Shadow Doll. This doll is said to be able to visit you in your dreams, and she has the ability to stop your heart. I mean, yeah, no thanks. And you know what? My curiosity is over. I no longer want to go visit this museum.